Hey guys, Nicole here with Obscure Reptiles and Caging, and today we're going to be helping you figure out how to price your ball pythons. So let's get started. Hey guys, so I am here with Gil, one of our whole-back ball pythons this season. This is our GHI Mojave Clown male. We had him in a video earlier this year, but I have him out in a couple of others because I want to go over how to price ball pythons. So there is a lot of range when it comes to, for example, pricing ball pythons. So something like him, who he is gorgeous, he is a GHI Mojave Clown. So as an example, I have one more right now. Right here we have a female pastel clown. Beautiful little girl. So clown, clown, female, male, and right now the going price for these guys, maybe the cheapest I've seen him was around $2,000, but there's a lot of different variants and quality. But I would price him as $2,500, and even being a female, 2-gene, beautiful clown, right now their price is around $350 to $500. And they're both very similar, both have clown in them, but the genetics in him and the combination for him go for a lot more expensive. So we're going to break down why he's worth so much, and especially being a female, why she's not. So let me put these guys back real quick. Alright, so to break down pricing for ball pythons, the first thing you have to know is it depends on what's in demand, what you can produce with that animal, not only how many genetics are in it, but how new is that genetic. So we'll break this all down for people, especially who are newer to ball pythons. Morphs are basically, the simplest way to put it, is a defect in that animal's DNA. When a snake has a problem with its genetics, normally the easiest thing to be, incorrect about that animal is its color pattern. That's why we are able to produce so many different types of ball pythons. A lot of these are actually occurring in the wild, like albino and different morphs that we see in captivity and where we're breeding them. A lot of them are from wild caught animals, or they show up as all these different kinds of morphs in the wild. It's very easy to change the pattern on them compared to other animals. So when it comes to, for example, let's say go with the GHI Mojave Clown Gil. GHI stands for Gotta Have It. I'll put some other photos of GHIs that I have here. GHIs, they're not super new, but they're within the last 15 years, I believe, 10-15 years. And when you use them with different morphs, it can drastically change the color, drastically change the pattern, and normally makes an animal a lot darker, especially when put with things like black pastel, cinnamon, even things like phantom. So it's a very high demand, not crazy high, but it's up there. And once you start mixing that stuff into recessive, like clowns and pieds, the price generally goes up quite a bit. But normally the animal has to look a lot more drastic compared to like, let's say you put two lessers together. Lessers you could buy for $50, $60, $70. But a blue-eyed Lucy, which is a pure white snake with a beautiful blue eye, goes for a lot more money. There's a lot of nostalgia from things like albino, blue-eyed Lucy, a normal pied, a normal clown, a normal banana. People really like those things, and they're generally not very expensive. So when it comes to pricing your animal, it actually takes a lot of time to watch other people, to do research on what these animals have sold for, what genetics you have, and how in demand those morphs are. There's a lot of different factors, and it takes a lot of work. Selling ball pythons, it can be easy, but a lot of the time it's incredibly difficult, and it takes a ton of time. So what I like to do when I'm, for example, selling a clutch of animals, I know what I paid for mom and dad. I always keep it written down, what I paid and when I bought them. So like, for example, we'll go with albino pieds. When I bought my female albino pied, I'll try to find a picture of her when she was a baby, but I have her, at least picture of her now. So she's actually 7 years old, paid about $2,500 for her shipped when I got her, and For example, last year her baby sold from 700-800 to 1,200. This year her babies were selling closer to 400, 500, 600. So not only do prices drop, they also tend to plateau somewhere. I don't see them going any lower than what they've gone now. Generally what will happen is if an animal, like let's say albino pieds, we'll stick with that, the price drops super low. Well, breeders will stop producing them and use their animals to produce other things that are worth more, and then you have the next season or next few seasons, they're really scarce. It's really hard to, for example, will be harder to find albino pieds. So the few people who do breed albino pieds, because their animal is so much more in demand, will raise that price back up to something, around the $1,000 mark. Then people see, wow, that snake's going for $1,000, and people rush back into it, and it's like a cycle, is the best way to put it. So I have noticed that within like 5 years, you'll have at least 2 years of the animal's pricing is very high. Then for 1 year, 2 years, it kind of gets lower, and then there's 1 or 2 years where it's drastically low. And then it kind of picks back up again, because that's about the amount of time it takes for somebody to get a female or a male, grow it up, breed it, have eggs, and then either, decide to bail out, which a lot of people do, especially when price drops. That's actually why, for example, Dumeral boas, my first ever Dumeral's boa was $100 probably 10, 12 years ago. And now, they've been $500, $1,500, $2,000 for the exact same animals, because a lot of people stop breeding them. And it also has a little bit to do with how early in the season you produce an animal. So, for example, if you are the first person to produce an animal and no one else has albino pieds, you can put any price on it that you want, because if somebody's looking for it at that time, they're going to jump on it. But if the market is flooded with them and they range from, let's just say, $500 to $1,500, if you post yours for $499, you're the cheapest, and normally that gets scooped up the quickest, especially if you have good quality and good photos when you post these animals. So I like to use morphmarket specifically. It's safe. I can look at the reviews of the people who are buying, people who are selling. People can see the reviews on mine. They can go through things that I've sold, stuff like that. So I like to use morphmarket specifically, and they make it really easy to find how much things are going for. So I could easily go on there, type in albino pied, separate, do I want male, female, the age of that animal, all that kind of stuff, and then compare what I have to what other people are selling. So if I have an animal that's super high white, she's like 200-300 grams, and people are selling ones that, are not as good looking, the photos aren't very good, and, the animal's a lot smaller, for $800, I should be able to get $800 no problem. Or you type in $799, and now you're the first result when it pops up. That's a really good way to sell your animals. But it takes a lot of keeping an eye on the market, keeping an eye on other breeders. It's a good idea to reach out to other breeders, not, ask them all their pricing for other animals if you're not interested in purchasing. If you see somebody who's really comparable to you and they post babies for $200 to $300, you have the exact same thing, it's not a bad idea to go with that pricing or go just a little bit below. I'm not telling you to lowball your animals by any means. For anyone who has bred, you know how much money and time and effort and care and love and passion it takes to grow an animal up, especially if you get it as a baby. Get all the proper caging, set up, food, supplies, heating, all the way up, egg season, have those eggs, incubator, everything, to just have a baby. And, some people will try to lowball you. Even if you've got a $2,000 animal, someone's going to come in and say, yeah, I'll give you $100 for it. That's just part of it, unfortunately. Those type of people I generally won't really even discuss further with or discuss in the future, just because, it takes a lot of time and effort to produce these animals, and some people just want them for nothing. But it's not a bad idea to, maybe do sales or discounts. Things like if it's coming up on winter and you're somewhere cold like here, do a little sale before the cold comes. Do a little pre-Black Friday sale, something like that. Because once you can no longer ship the animals, you are stuck selling locally. You don't want to burn bridges with other local breeders because, your prices are way too low, which now drives their prices down. But you want to be fair. You want to be able to, price your animal accordingly based on its quality, even based on your experience. If you can't even check the gender of your snake because you're a new breeder, you're afraid to, pop it, that animal is going to be sold as a male price and probably a lot lower than other ones because, you know, you're not as experienced. Because with experience, with being able to check genders, with being able to successfully get that animal to eat and go through his whole life, it takes time, and that's something that is learned. If you are brand new to this, before you even decide who you want to pair with who, it takes hours and hours of time. But if, for example, if you don't even know what your snake could make, go to morphmarket, and they actually have a ball python breeding calculator, or just type it into Google. It pulls up morphmarkets first. It's awesome because not only does it, like let's say you want to put albino pied with a clown, it's not only going to show you what babies could come out of it, it'll show you the percentage, like odds-wise, how many of each you can expect to get, which again, it's just estimating. It'll actually show you at that moment if any are posted on morphmarket, and you click on it, it'll show you all of them, and you can hit the top sorting button to say you want to see the cheapest animal priced first. So it'll pop up, you know, that maybe the animal is $600, you say most expensive, and it goes up to $900. So you know that's the range. You know, maybe go for $599. Maybe you know you have a super good quality animal, go for $750, you know. So morphmarket, I think, is one of the best tools to be able to see what other big reputable breeders are doing. I like to go on things like, let's say, Sterling Nelson or Bob's Balls, and I will scroll through what they have. I will see animals that they have or that they have produced recently, ones that are older, and see what they sell them for. So, you know, if he's selling something for 600, but I'm trying to sell for 10, you know, 1,000, I know his animal is going to sell way faster than mine. He's a bigger known breeder, so I'll adjust accordingly. But I don't put myself in the same lane of, you know, $100 just to get rid of that animal. I still want to meet somewhere in the middle of being reasonable and fair to the market and being able to make, you know, what my animal's worth, because I put a lot of money into my adults, a lot into my care, and it's not that I'm trying to make a bunch of money, but I would like to get at least what that animal is worth or close to it, with still giving the person who's buying it a good deal. But when pricing your animal, it's your animal. At the end of the day, it's completely up to you. If you price your animal and you think it's a very good, reasonable price for what you've put into it, for what that animal is going for in the market at that time, then hold your ground. Sometimes people are going to pound you with lowball offers, say yours is too expensive, and kind of be nasty because they want to get the cheapest price out of you. But again, it's your animal, and at the end of the day, you get to choose what it sells for, who it goes to, and all that type of stuff. But these are just a little bit of tips and some helpful tricks for you guys, especially if you are newer getting into this. But that's it for this video. If you guys have any questions, you can put them in the comments below. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We do new videos every other Wednesday, and I'll see you guys on a Wednesday.